Good evening, family. I am April Silver of AKILA WORKSONGS, a communications agency, and I am over the moon, excited and giddy, like a little girl, like a little child, to bring to you a special event that I thought might be useful in the world. And I've gathered just a few of my favorite people, my favorite light bearers in the world, to come together and talk about a theme that's really important to me, and I think is important to a lot of people as well. And the name of the program is Triumphant Living. And I'm really struck by this notion of what it means to be triumphant, because that means being victorious over obstacles and blockages and things that get in the way of successful, healthy living. And I wanted to tap into that because here we are in June of 2021, and we are a month and change after a really life-altering year because of the pandemic, because of treacherous and horrible murders in the African American community, in the Asian American community. And there's a lot of negativity and hardship and challenges that we see across our screens on a very regular basis, exceptionally so in 2020. So here we are about 6 months after that life-changing year, and I thought it would be important for us to add more light to conversations. We're really grateful for our spiritual healers, our activists, our light bearers in the world of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all races, all human beings who are really focused on light. And we just wanted to gather people to bring more of that into the atmosphere, because I honestly believe there's no such thing as too much light and too much good news and too much positive vibes. So please indulge me as I welcome you to this conversation that is being recorded live and that we'll share throughout. We have wonderful people who are going to talk about not just triumphant living and that positivity, but it's Black Music Month. Every June is Black Music Month. So we want to talk about the influence of music and how it gets us going and keeps us informed and inspired. Not informed, but more so inspired. Every June, every third Sunday in June is also Father's Day. So we have everybody here is a father except myself and Dr. Green. But we have stories to tell about being raised by wonderful fathers. So we want to celebrate that as well. It is also Caribbean Heritage Month. It's also Pride Month. So we have a lot of things to be grateful for. And this is just a small sample of friends and family and clients and collaborators that I love so much. And I'm thanking all of you for giving us your time. I'd like to say that this event is being presented by AKILA WORKSONGS, but is being also supported and in partnership with the Center for Black Literature. We'll hear more about that in a minute. I should say the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College, CUNY in Brooklyn, New York. It's also being supported by More Joy Parenting as well, and Dreamland with Aaliyah, I'm very happy to say. So we have all ages here, and let's get started. So Dr. Green, I want to ask you to lead the conversation, if you would, about the challenges that you have overcome. You can narrow it down to 2020. You don't have to keep it there, but I'd like if you could share with us some challenges, be it personal or professional or both, and what inspired you to persevere, if you could add to the conversation in that way, and then we'll just kind of go around and make sure that we hit all of the themes.
Well, first, thank you. Thank you, April, for leading this discussion and for being the light, because you are a light also. And welcome, and nice to see all of you. I've heard so much about all of you. So, as I thought about the challenges, the most immediate is what we went through and what I had to do as a result of this pandemic, what I had to do in my professional life. But I just want to start with my approach to life, which is really, I have a strong belief in leading the purpose-driven life. You know, that we all have a purpose. We're here with a purpose. We all have a journey, and no one's journey is similar. Our journey, we have to listen to the inner voice and listen to that inner spirit, and that helps us to decide what our journey will be. And of course, during our journey in life, we have obstacles. And one of the premises is that I go by is to look at every obstacle as an opportunity to ride the waves of success. And so obstacles are really ways to learn and to grow, and they're messages. And so when I have an obstacle, it's not, you might feel down for a little bit, but you pick up and go. So as I thought about this, I thought about founding the Center for Black Literature, which I decided to do in 2002 while I was on sabbatical. I was on sabbatical. Talib Kweli and Mostef had decided they were going to buy Nkiru books, and they used the proceeds from Black Star, their first album, to purchase it, despite what everyone said when you looked at what was happening in the book industry. And then they went on tour. So they
Dr. Green, before you go on, can you tell us that connection that you have with Talib Kweli?
Oh, yes, Talib Kweli, my son, yes. Had decided, at first he decided that he wanted to do music, and that he was at NYU and majoring in dramatic arts. And he decided that he really wanted to do music. So he was in school all day doing these participating in dramatic workshops, and then in a music studio at night. And then at one semester in, he called a family meeting. In my house, we had family meetings. He called a family meeting, and he said he wanted to take his father and I out to dinner. And he then informed us that he was leaving school, but he actually had already left school. And, and that he was going to pay his way, get his own apartment, and get a job. And the job ended up being at Nkiru Books, where he fell in love with it. He loved reading the whole idea of books. And so when Leothi Miller decided that she wanted to sell, he invited Mostef to purchase this with him. And as a result, as I said, they used the proceeds they got from their first album, Mostef and Talib are Black Star, and purchased the inventory. And I was really proud. I was anxious and proud, and I needed a break. So I asked the president of Medgar College if I could have a sabbatical. And I said I really wanted to work and to help bring Nkiru into fruition. And it would also allow me to do some other projects I had. And so I began working for managing Nkiru. I became the manager, learned a lot about book selling, decided to focus on turning Nkiru into an educational and cultural center, because we were doing many of the things that Talib had envisioned and that I envisioned, holding book signings. We had a book club, we had writers' workshops, and worked on getting a grant. And that's when I called on, I had just met April around that time, and called on April. I think you worked with us with a couple of projects. And then I had to go back to work. And so when I went back to work, I needed someone to take over running Nkiru, and that person was April. April served as an ED for a while. I'm really, really pleased she came in. But we realized that we could not sustain, it was not sustainable, because a not-for-profit, just having a not-for-profit is not just you have to raise money for programming. You also, of course, have to have your operational expenses. You have to have the expenses of where you're going to be located. And so as a result, I said, well, you know, this concept of Nkiru is so important that I used many of the concepts that we were using at Nkiru to form the Center for Black Literature. The Center for Black Literature was initially formed to institutionalize the National Black Writers Conferences, which had been held at Medgar Evers College since 1986. They were only being held like every 4 or 5 years because there was no way to sustain them. So the center became a vehicle through which we could host the conference, hopefully on a yearly basis. And I formed the Center for Black Literature. I had to get it approved by CUNY. And we had several arms, an educational arm. We did workshops. We did the National Black Writers Conference. We did symposia. Some of the things we're doing at Nkiru, but we expanded on that and developed a major youth program where we brought youth into the hip, I should say, into the classroom. And that's BEASLEY. April recommended him as someone who could teach one of our hip hop workshops and courses. And he worked with us for a number of years. He did workshops on using lyrics and letters to define. So it was really an exciting time.
Let me ask you, Dr. Green, if I may, and then we'll go over to Aaliyah and her dad. What were you trying to overcome by starting, just really quickly, if you could tell us, what were you trying to overcome when you founded the center, or even when you were the board chair of the Nkiru bookstore and nonprofit? What was it that you were trying to overcome?
Well, the fact that we really did not have a place. There was no place. There was no environment where Black writers could come together on an annual basis and talk about the trends in Black literature and talk about the ways to support Black other place in the country other than what Hakeem Mahabudi was doing at the Gwendolyn Center for Black Literature and Creative Writing.
In Chicago, yes.
In Chicago, right, at Chicago State. And more importantly, there was no place for the youth, because what I saw working at Nkiru was we had so many talented youth around. You know, we had so many talented young people, and there was no place where their words and their language and the power of their voices could be incorporated into the schools, into the curriculum. And so that became really motivation. That was what I said. I said, we have talent here. How can we integrate this into the school system? We need this in our colleges. They used to have spoken word slams. Why aren't we doing this in the schools? And that motivated me to write that proposal. Because I always believe, you know, I know, having raised my sons, we needed to have music and arts in the school. And that's how you're going to keep people engaged. You know, that's how you're going to feed their spirit and feed their souls. So that was 50% of the programming we did in addition to the conference.
I love it.
There are other things I can talk about, but you know, that was like the major goal. And just quickly, of course, deciding how I'm going to hold a virtual conference as a result of COVID. And we had a wonderful conference, the 15th National Black Writers Conference on activism with playwrights and screenwriters. We held, and that was a journey, another obstacle, but that's what life is about, right?
Yeah, I have to say, your love and your willingness to not give up on the culture, on Black writers, your appreciation of hip hop is why I wanted you to be with us, you know, as we celebrate Black Music Month and talk about the arts. So thank you, Dr. Green, for pushing through always. Despite bureaucracies and so forth.
You're welcome. And I'll be teaching a course on hip hop in the fall. Of course, I designed using what I learned.
You know, I think the mother of Talib Kweli, it kind of gets a right to do that, you know. So yeah, we'll circle back to that for sure. Aaliyah.
Hold on, friends. April, I've been raising my hand.
It's blending in. I think your hand is blending in.
Was that a high yellow joke?
No, go ahead, Mo, before we go on. I'm listening.
Our friends and family members are blowing up my phone because they want the link. They want to watch now. They're saying
Oh,
Facebook link
okay.
is not working, and they want to listen in. So
We're
we've got
gonna share it. Yeah, so we're gonna
That'll be
share it.
wonderful.
I don't want to interrupt the flow, but when you are listening next, let them know that this is gonna go up tonight. Okay, if you
Okay,
don't, if you don't mind. Yeah.
okay, because
Uh,
folks are trying to use the Facebook. There's a Facebook link they're trying to use. So, is it on the AKILA page? Because I'll post a note.
this is an entirely new link. So all we can do right now is to move forward, and we'll beg their pardon. But all we can do right now, since we're recording live, is to keep it moving, and they'll get fed in just a little while.
Okay, but what again for them? Can we put a notice up on the? What I'm asking is, can we put a can I? Where can I put a notice next to the old link? Because people are going to keep trying to use that link.
Okay, I'll work that out when while in the background. Promise. Okay.
Gotcha. All right.
So my beloved Aaliyah, your Uncle Mo was the one that cut into your time. So we're gonna just tease him about that for the rest of the night. But my dear Aaliyah, your story is so interesting because you purposefully decided to put some good into the world. And I think that's why it's so important that you be a part of this. And for those who don't know, Aaliyah saw a gap, if you will, when COVID descended upon, the world. And because children in particular had no more parties to go to and no more outdoor activities because of quarantine, at the time, Aaliyah, who was 10, no, 9,
I was
right?
9, yeah.
9, said, I want to do something about that. I want to bring some more joy, no pun intended, into the world, and set upon a path of reading storytime books every single solitary day to young people, via her Facebook page, just really contributing light. And I just so amazing. Your mom, Dr. Marcella Runel Hall, let me know about it, and we're just so proud of you. I want you to kind of tell your story, your version, and let us know like what that was like to overcome. It seems like you had no fear, so maybe we should be following your lead here. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
So I remember the beginning of quarantine, like that day when we got out of school. Well, I got out of school and like my mom got out of work, like bringing a ton of stuff home from the office and like things like that. And I was like, everybody, when I got home from school, I was like, see you in 2 weeks, all that. And I was just at home. I was like, for 2 weeks, I was like, doing everything like with my sister and my family, we had no choice but family dinner. It was wonderful. And like spending hours on the trampoline and doing movie marathons and all of these things. And I was thinking, and we actually had a schedule, and we had this part of the day was like check boxes. Okay, watch 15 minutes of story time online. So when we were watching the story time, I was thinking, I feel like it would be kind of cooler if like a kid did this, like instead of like the adult. So I thought, maybe if a kid did a story time, it would be really cool. So I was like, maybe I should try this. But then I was like, okay, before I need to do this, I need to like practice, and I need to do the toughest crowd ever. So, my cousins, my little cousins. So I was like, okay, little cousins, check. We did the FaceTime. I did it. They were pretty good. So I can try going live. And I went live on my mom's Instagram. And after that, I was like, oh, yay, today is Dreamland. I got to get up and I can't wait. And then I kind of formed a name and like my intro and everything. And it was going great. And then I started like interviewing people live, like my aunts and family I know, and like my dance teachers, people local that I could interview. And it was really amazing. And then my mom and I had the idea, what if we did a fundraiser? So I had no idea how far I would get, but the first fundraiser I did raised $2,000 for No Kid Hungry. And I was like, what, $2,000? I need to do do this again. So I was like, okay, I need to do this again. I need to do another one. So I did Moms of Black Boys Unite for Social Change. And that was $2,500. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. I mean, I need to do more. And so the most recent was for the Loveland Foundation. And the Loveland Foundation raised over $5,500, which was our goal, or exceeded our goal. And it was really amazing and fantastic. And in the midst of that happening, that we did sign up for the Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon Kid of the Year Award. And they're doing the Kid of the Year. So you send in like story, everything you did, all of your accomplishments in one little document, and you put your name and all of these like crazy things, like all your information. And then weeks, months later, they had a final and they announced the top 50. And I was so surprised that I was in the top 50 of the Kids of the Years for the Nickelodeon, partnering with Time Magazine. And
that was out of like thousands of entries, right? Like,
yeah, 6,000.
6,000 people all over the country, and you made the top 50.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Really fantastic. And I know I couldn't have done it without like my family the whole time. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have a camera like my mom's, and I didn't have my sister to come on with me every time. And then you every day just kept like being like, all right, gotta plan for Dreamland tonight. What are you gonna read? You know, like all of these things. And yeah, so I just couldn't have done it without my family. And then I also love like seeing other people's reactions, like my friends and family. And then like connecting with a live audiences is just so cool, because you can see everybody's comments, like they're along with you, you know, they're right there. You're not recording all alone by yourself. And then reading about things that are really important to me, like representation in children's books. And yeah, so that's kind of the Dreamland story for me.
Were you ever nervous? Were you ever like nervous, or like, I don't want to do this anymore? Did you ever have to like kind of inspire yourself to keep going? Did that ever happen?
I would say not very much. I mean, I don't think so. Like it was like I want to do this, so I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm going to record, even on my birthday, even on
In a car ride.
yeah, in a car. I remember we were at like in the summer last year, we were at the pool sometimes. I'd be like, oh my goodness, it's 6:32. What am I gonna do? I gotta go to the car. Like
Right.
all these things, I was like recording, you know, everywhere. At ice cream, at my at
A hotel.
at a hotel, staying in Vermont, at my friend's cousin's house, everything, you know, recording, being like, oh, it's 6:29. Like I gotta go. See everyone.
Right.
See you guys in 10 minutes. Yeah, so
I love it. I love it. That's so inspirational. Thank you for staying with it, for sure. I want to ask you, Dave, like what was that like, seeing your daughter push through and just give of herself, and the whole production, everything? Like, what was that like for you to experience your 9-year-old just totally jumping in?
It's tough because it's hard to give a good answer, because this is just who she is. And I think it's important to just be out of her way. I think I can remember a time, like, I don't know, sometimes parents are like, oh, maybe you don't want to do that, with our own fears. We put our own fears on our kids. So I just didn't say anything. I just enjoyed the ride and let her do what she was. I don't even like to use the word let. Let is not a fair word to even say, but just stayed where I need to stay and let her, you know, and see her do what she was going to do.
Right. You had said that that's just naturally who she is. She was fulfilling her destiny. I think when we did the press release, you said something like it was amazing to watch your daughter know her destiny at 9, at 10, at 11. Can you speak on that a little bit?
I think it's everything that she's done up until this point has just put her in the position to be who she is, and having 2 parents that are encouraging of her doing those things, just, you know, let it be. It was just right there. I mean,
Yeah,
I couldn't think of anything else that could have happened, it was
right.
like, oh yeah, this is what's supposed to be. I mean, what else could it be,
Just the natural unfolding, right, of both your
Mhm.
daughters, because
Yeah.
Ava was 6 when this started, right? So, and she was
Five.
Five.
five, right? So then she was doing the behind the scenes work, and she was supporting her older sister,
Mhm.
doing all of this work. So you had 2 amazing daughters at the same time and support with one another like that. That had to be like nourishing. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Ava was always the one to be like, sister, it
You
is
gotta
6:29.
go.
You gotta go. You gotta go like on Greenland. And then she'll help me with like all the commercials and stuff.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I want to go to Byron, if I may. Byron, can you talk about some, it could be about COVID, it could be beyond COVID, but give us some, if you would, some triumphs that you've had and some goals that you've accomplished where you've pushed through. You're the master of pushing through. So I want to just give the stage to you.
Well, first of all, I just want to speak to Aaliyah and to Dave and just say the two of you are amazing. I mean, Dave, I can just tell by your support that you are a very progressive dad and the way that you parent. And Aaliyah, I mean, your story is just amazing, and I'm very proud to share this stage with you because what you have done and accomplished is just amazing. So I just want to give you your props. Your due props for what you've accomplished at this stage of your life. So to answer your question, April, I think one of the biggest challenges for me over the past several years has been the documentary film that I'm working on called Hazing. And during the pandemic, the challenges became even more difficult because it was harder to raise money to get the film done. And so a film that I thought would take me 2 to 3 years to get done has taken me 7 years to get done. And so that's really challenging. I mean, to sustain the energy, the inspiration, the motivation, the drive to keep going, especially when, you're getting rejection letters from funders and, just not really moving at the rate of speed that I would like to move. So for me, what has kept me going with that film have been the parents and the loved ones of the people who I interviewed in the film, the parents who I interviewed in the film who have lost a loved one to hazing or the victims of hazing. I draw a lot of motivation and I draw a lot of strength from them because I know that I'm making a film that's gonna hopefully, potentially honor their lives, right? So that is what keeps me going with that film project. And I grew up an athlete. I started playing football from the time I was 7 years old. Played basketball and ran track for a short period of time. And I've just been, I guess, trained to push myself, right? I mean, to push myself beyond, my place of comfort and beyond challenges and overcome obstacles. So I think my background as an athlete, really helps me to kind of push through those very difficult moments.
Byron, I remember, if you don't mind me sharing this part, being with having met your dad and your loving relationship with your father. And I've, through all the years that we've talked, you've often spoke about him motivating you.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I remember is about him letting you know the importance of setting goals. Is that fair to say? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, my father was a contractor, painting and spackling, and I used to work with him when I was about 14 years old, all the way through high school and my early years in college. And so my dad was at his best when he was on the job. He was at his best as a teacher for me. And one of the things that he would always have me do when we were on a job was to set a goal. He would set me up in a room, with a can of paint and a drop cloth, and he would make me set a goal for how long it would take me to get that room done, right? Or he would stick me in a closet. I mean, when you're the young dude on the job, like My job was to paint the closet. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody really looks at the closet, right? So but he would tell me, you know, you want to paint this closet not for the customer, but for the painter that comes after you, right? Because the painter that comes after you is going to know right away whether or not you did a good job in this closet, right? Because the painter is going to see things that the average customer is not going to look for. And so he would have me set goals, and it was just, he was always talking about goal setting to the point where it started to really make me sick. I mean, I just couldn't stand him saying the word goal. But, you know, I was walking home from the track the other day, and I was thinking about how important that was, you know, for my father to teach me those lessons, because my whole entire life is structured around goal setting. You know, I have goals that I set all of the time. I wake up in the morning, I have goals, you know, that I want to accomplish on that day. I have goals for the films that I make. I have goals for being a father. I have goals for being, you know, a husband. I have goals for everything. And so, you know, I really attribute that characteristic, you know, from my dad. My dad gave me that. He
Yeah,
instilled that in me.
beautiful. Beautiful. I definitely wanted to make sure we talked about that with the connection of Father's Day and such a beautiful man. If I may transition, if I may, to Mo Beasley, same question. What have you overcome, major challenge that you know that you're willing to share, be it last year, this year, overall? Like, give us that inspirational thing that you've pushed through.
Woo. I think all of us, of course, pushed through this pandemic.
Mhm.
I left Brooklyn and moved here to become a technical director of the Adrian Arts Center because it was going to be a great change and a great economic boon for my family. And, you know, shout out to all the girl dads in the room. I realized as Aaliyah was talking, like we're all girl dads, right? So, you know, I moved here, you know, so that my girls could have a brighter future, taking a job on the management side and production side of show business. And then I got furloughed in July of 2020. So I'm here on Miami Beach. I moved down here to make this better for my family. And I'm far away from a support system I used to have in Brooklyn, New York, or my hometown of Boston. And so you pull on all kinds of resources in your training, but it's huge amount of depression, huge amount. I think the first month of the pandemic, it was hard to get out the bed. Real talk, it was hard to get out the bed. And and then I started a plant-based diet. I was like, okay, I got to get so one of the biggest triumphs was shifting my thinking, and then shifting the vessel that I work with. And so adopting another artist friend of mine was like, hey, try this, you know, this plant-based cleanse for a week. And it set me on this path to get my health right, get my mind straight. And then I started producing virtually. I was like, okay, because I'm a Howard University graduate, right? HU.
HU, you know.
And if nothing else, from the College of Fine Arts in the theater department, they taught you how to, you know, you have to adapt, you have to improvise in the business. So this new stage is the screen, is the screen. So figure out how to put on a show in the screen. And so by the fall in October, I produced a human rights arts festival, all day arts festival, live. Never done it before. I'm doing some Jerry Lewis kind of, marathon festival of music and poetry and film and dance. And we did it, and it worked. And shout out to the Napier Network and Soul Motif, the Soul Motif open mic. Napier Network brought the technical skill to the game, and Soul Motif brought the artist to the game. And I hosted all day, and that was like, oh wow, this connects the world, because everyone was streaming in from, some artists were in Italy, some artists were in New York, some artists were in California, and we're all streaming. It lives on the Community Service Society of New York's website, a YouTube page to this day. I beg y'all to go see it. The day we did it, we had 500 people watching live. And so then flash forward to February of 2021, I celebrate the 20th anniversary of Mo Beasley's Love Suites. And so for 20 years, I've produced a cabaret where poets and singers and dancers celebrate love stories from people of all walks of love, all shapes, sizes, and walks and lifestyles. And still, and real talk, still fighting through the depression that's caused by this pandemic, because I'm still unemployed. I'm still trying to figure out how to feed my babies and myself with $2 in unemployment a week. And so you come up with these, but you keep pushing through. And it was beautiful when I had the 20th anniversary of Love Suites to have so many newly published authors and educators and performers who said, Mo Beasley, I'm in this game because you gave me a space on your stage 20 years ago. I published my 3rd book, and I remember it was you and I have you in the special thanks, the introduction of all my books. And so, and they call it a movement. You've created a movement, a space, a safe space for all our folks to tell our stories. And that was a huge inspiration. That was a triumph to realize there's a tribe here that can tell all our stories. So the end of this month, we'll be coming together to celebrate the intersectionality of Blackness by celebrating Pride Month, Black Music Month, and Juneteenth Month all as one, because we all we all fall under that umbrella in some way, shape, or form. And again, that tribe of folks said, this safe space that I created is valuable. And that was huge to lifting my spirit.
So it was a battery in your pack, so to speak. Did it lift you over some obstacles?
It sure did. It lifted me over obstacles and went, okay, what do we do? How can I be more intentional in the next 20 years? What legacy? There's a legacy. If I died during this pandemic, there is a legacy that's left that's of value to people. So how can I be even more intentional as it goes forward? And Dr. Green, I got to go back and shout you out, because what was also inspirational is a student from my first class teaching at Medgar Evers College is now here in Miami teaching at a charter school that just got started at Liberty City. So if y'all remember, Liberty City in Miami is the hood's hood. Like it's still hot. And Marlon Cador was one of the first students from my Redefining Manhood course.
That's good. Oh, wow.
And he said to this day, and he said to me, and he's one of the people here, he's part of my tribe here. And he said, I'm a teacher because of your class, Mo Beasley. Like, you believed in us. You believed in your class, and Medgar Evers made us believe in our words, and that our words were important, and that what we had to say and what we had to share was important. And he said, I'm trying to pay it forward. And to have that full circle moment here in Miami from Brooklyn
that's triumphant living.
Thank you. I was
that's triumphant living. That's awesome. That's a wonderful connect. I'm glad you got a chance to tell Dr. Green that too,
Yeah, Dr.
He amplified that story.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Davey D, I'm gonna come to you, and then we're gonna have Ren give his inspiration. But Dave, like, tell us what obstacles and roadblocks have you dismantled, and how, give us that inspirational tidbit.
Well, I don't think there's any one thing to say. I think we all agree that 2020 was challenging, and it's one for the books. It's something that will be in the books and will be studied and looked at, and our individual and collective actions are going to be things that people are going to dip into. So somebody like Aaliyah at 11 years old doing what you're doing, there's going to be people reading about that, what Mo is going through, because he has a platform, but his circumstances are reflective of the sheer inequality that most of us, especially Black folks, were dealing with. Out of work, furloughed, how you going to make ends meet? In the middle of a pandemic where you have people making billions of dollars, right? And acting like ain't nothing wrong. And in fact, not only are they acting like nothing's wrong, they're creating conditions that would make it even harder for folks who have been upended, and then looking at folks like they're crazy for not being able to push through. So I say all that because I think all of us can relate to coming from spaces where we've always had that in the back of our mind. Like, we're going to be broke, we're going to be out of luck, and what are we going to do? And I didn't have parents, like what Byron was talking about, that told me to make goals, but I did have parents to tell me to plant seeds and to hustle and to stay hustling. And when 2020 came, I was so thankful that the hustling ethos was there. I didn't want to work in an office, so I had been preparing and had transitioned so I could work anywhere I wanted to years ago. So when it was like everybody got to stay home and adjust, well, we already had that adjustment there. Those seeds were able to come to fruition. How do you get multiple income streams? Well, you got to hustle. So when people are like, they shut things down, intuitively, it was like, you're going to talk to all your clients who you DJ for, and you're going to be in touch with them. So some of you all got these tapes that I was sending out. I think we did 103, throughout the year. That opened up so many crazy doors. It was crazy. I mean, it was, again, that investment. I had a big job that was going to pay me. It was going to be my breakthrough, to work for one of the professional teams here. And that fell through during the pandemic. And, I was like, damn, the big break. But because of the hustling ethos and building connections and in these bridges and doing all that, it actually surpassed what I was going to do.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it actually did better, because it was what it was about building relationships and really connecting to our humanity. This is the other thing that we were taught, like in the middle of the storm, hunker down
Mhm.
and lock in, right?
Mm.
And so I've had good friends pass. One of my good friends, like an older brother, was one of the first to pass here in the Bay, and one of the younger ones. And his auntie, his wife was a head nurse. So, he had the best care. And this is in the middle of the gaslighting that we were going through. And I'm bringing this up to say our humanity was being challenged from all directions, where people's going, ain't no real pandemic. You ain't sick. You're not really broke. You must be lazy, Mo. Those types of things that could actually make you go crazy if you don't have anything to lock in on. And so it's in the middle of that type of storm. You could say it's spiritually speaking, or, just socially speaking. There was a lot to lock in and be like, nah, you're not gonna strip me of my humanity. And we were challenged. Trump was in office. We can't forget that. And his vitriol was daily occurrence. It was a daily assault. We were dying down and being gaslit. Do you know anybody who died? How do you know it was COVID? It's not really real. All those types of things. While, you're seeing people that you love, like 10 people, some people lost 20, all that. How do you maintain? Folks who are broke, that are sitting there like 4 to a house, no job, no internet line, all these different things. Just, I was sensitive to that. And so it was in the middle of that I was like, I'm gonna keep this straight line. I'm gonna maintain these friendships. I'm gonna maintain these relationships at home and just lock in and become a little bit more centered. And that's what I think got me through it. And, and to this point about goals, it was like, I'm gonna do these tapes one at a time. I'm gonna do these parties one at a time. I'm gonna learn these new techniques one at a time. I'm gonna teach these classes, and I'm gonna connect to these 300 students and feel their pain and make this an easier thing. It was one at a time. Sometimes it was, sometimes it was staying up, till 4 a.m. to do it. Sometimes it was, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think you really realize how much we went through.
Yep.
I don't think there will be a full accounting for it because people are still feeling it. We're seeing the aftermath.
Mhm.
Every city we're talking to, you're in Miami, right? Didn't you just have shootouts there? We just had shootouts here. We've having everywhere we're talking to, it's happening. So we're seeing people that's like blowing up the spot. Some of it is orchestrated. So we're still in the middle of this fight as
Right.
things are opening up. And, for me, who's on the air every day, I didn't want to lose sight of that. I didn't want to be one of those people that exploited it. I didn't want to be one of those people that became numb to it. I wanted to feel it so I could sincerely react to it. And so that was a goal, and, here we are, still continuing. So, yeah.
I wanna say something really quickly on the heels of Davy D. And I know, April, you want to move on, but I just want to say that, Davy D is somebody who definitely, shines a light. He is a light. Davy D would send me, digital, texts, you know what I mean? He would send me a text message, with his most recent mix, you know what I mean? And it would come right on time. Like it would come right when I needed it. Like I would be on my way to the track to go run, or it would be at a moment where I needed some uplift. I needed my spirits to be raised, and I would get this text out of nowhere from Davy D with a mix, right? And sometimes I would share those mixes with my fraternity brothers, right, to help uplift them. So I just want to let you know, Davy, that you helped me get through some moments, whether it was exercise, whether it was just lifting my spirits or whatever, through your work, right? Through your craft and through your skills. So I just want to acknowledge you for that.
No, thank you.
I want to get on that list. Can you get on that list?
Well, I'll close with this. There's the saying about being a village. And what I was looking at is that we're all purposeful, if I could use that word. If HER, her, made a song about can't breathe, then now it's her contribution. It was my job to recontextualize that and then put that in a form and then share it with somebody like a Byron, right? And put it on the air or share it just with myself so I could find some solace. If Talib did something, same thing. So it was taking all these expressions and then putting them into a space so that we could, have something, and understanding that our collective expression is our healing, or at least was able to ground us. It grounded me. If it hadn't been for the music and the communities built, and even the conversations we had, Byron, just on text, those were those relationships. That was like, those were, those constant touchings of folks, because all of us were in a storm and we didn't know what people were going through. Because everybody had to put on a happy face because this is a world that don't care. They'd be like, "Oh, you're going through it. Oh, it's my turn to stomp on Byron so I could take his place. Mo's going through it. Let me smash on him so I could be where he's at." That's the predatory society that we lived in. So it was important to have those relationships and be intentional, even if it wasn't spoken. Like, I got your back. If you need help, I'm here. And knowing that other people had my back, which is why I was able to elevate in some of the ways, because there were people that was like, "I see what you're going through. Let me open this door and make sure you got, some solace in the middle of it."
Let me talk about, then I got to jump in and talk about Village, because I work for a predominantly white institution. They call it PWIs now. And the day after George Floyd was killed, I'm one of 5 Black staff members of a huge performing arts center, and they have a Zoom conversation. They want to just talk about it, and and then they want to make space to hear from the Black staff members. They haven't before, and I never missed y'all more than I did in that moment, because I spoke and I said to the CEO, "You don't need to hear from the Black people here. we need to hear from the kind of family members that would allow a Derek Chauvin to exist. Like, we need to know what it is in 2021 that still drives you to this place to hate and fear me to that degree. I don't have anything for you. There's nothing that I can tell you as to why that happens. You need to tell me. I've done the work, and I've had people say to me, well, you couldn't have gone through anything, Mo, you're here. You're a successful Black man. I've had a white person at a predominantly white institution say to me, you're a successful Black man. There must be nothing you've gone through to get here. And I thought, wow. And so I had to tell them the story of growing up poor, public housing in Boston, single mother welfare, busty segregation riots, race riots in Boston during the 70s, 6 years old, having adult people scream at me, go home, and Aaliyah, I'm not gonna say the word because you're here, baby, but ends will go home, we'll go to school with my children over my dead body, grown folks foaming at the mouth. And I'm going, so you think that I had to break it down and say, if a Black person is in the room with you, I'm going to be audacious enough to say that it has cost them more to be in the same space. And then when I opened up that door, another Black person said, yeah, can I ask you? And again, I said, so we need to hear from the white folks. So a Black person in that staff meeting then said, well, then tell me, why is it that every time you see two or more of us in the hallway, in the stairwell, in talking outdoors in front of in the building, in the parking lot, and you go, break it up, what's going on over here? And I had to ask them, what is that makes you have to say that, even as a joke, every time you see Black staff members gathered together? And so I said to them, like, in this time, what the pandemic brought out for me, what was triumphant, was to be able to speak truth to power, and from the CEO on down or up, and say, this is your work to do. If you're appalled and you're horrified by what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd, there's nothing else for anybody that looks like me to do. It is your job to do it, and to then, and after a while, and then have to stop talking about it, speak truth to power, because then the thing is, then I got the word back that now, you're the angry Black man at the institution now. And I'm the angry Black man because I put the obvious out there, or not so obvious. And I'm going, oh, okay, this is not a safe space. And and so, I'm sorry, April, go ahead.
No, what I'm hearing from you, and I know that story, Mo, of course, but what I love about this is the through line between what you just shared and your story, Mo, and what Aaliyah did as a 9-year-old, and Davy D's contribution, and him keeping us clear on this trauma that we were pushing through or still are, is our willingness, or you all's willingness, to feel and think outside yourself. So like that's the thread here with Aaliyah saying, I want to give this to, I want to be excellent at it, right? Like that, Aaliyah, that was your gift to your peers and to those who were younger, even at 9, they're younger children who you were catering to, but also you were doing this story time, not just for the children younger than you, but entire families. And I think that speaks to your willingness to care about someone else. That's a giving heart. Davy D, your hustle, yes, because that's important, but you're checking in on people, like the story you just told with Byron, and your willingness to not just become a slab of concrete, during the pandemic, but allowing yourself to feel, which makes you think of other people and their pain and support. Like I hear that as a through line, and I just wanted to highlight that, Byron, yours as well. It's a wonderful through line that I noticed, if I may.
And I want to say this. I wanted to bring it full circle about this before you go on to LOREN, because we got to hear from LOREN.
Yeah.
My point is, going through that struggle in a predominantly white institution, what was a bomb in my Gilead, and I'm gonna shout y'all out, was AKILA WORKSONGS and the Center for Black Literature. during that time and that furlough. And like you said, Dave, I'm hustling and getting gigs. AKILA WORKSONGS and the Center for Black Literature cut me checks for work as a poet, as a manager.
Yeah.
That's real talk. And that was the village. And that's the triumphant part of it, is that the village showed up for me.
Yeah. And that's what happened for me. The village showed up in ways that, you know, the seeds that were planted well before pandemic grew, you know, bore fruit. And I like to think that, you know, that more seeds were planted because, you know, all the preparation, being able to stay at home, you know, way before pandemic, having 2 internet lines, which is a point of privilege, but it was also a goal. Like, I don't want to be in the office, so I'm gonna work here. And so, you know, I mean, so when this thing happened, there was a lot of things in place, you know, and that goes back to the goal setting. They were like, I'm not going to be at somebody else's, you know, beck and call. And, you know, and even during that, you know, simple things like when people were looking for toilet paper and all that, wait a second, I know where these rich neighborhoods are that nobody knows. Let me go, you know, slide on there and get our supplies and, you know, and then just networking with people. I think our village became a lot tighter, you know, when you really think about it in many ways. Then, and going back to that through line, I think we all knew that there was no cavalry coming.
Yes.
The cavalry. This is the cavalry.
Cavalry was us. Yes,
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ren, Lauren, Mr. Harris, my brother, you've heard a lot. And I know you, and I know you're processing, and I know you're absorbing, you know, and I'm not rushing any of us, but it's your turn. I'm gonna just open it up and say you can get in wherever you feel. You can answer the question or not, but let's hear from you, Ren.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a rich conversation. I'm happy to be a part of the audience because I'm learning so much and being so inspired, from Aaliyah to, you know, Dr. Green, all the conversations, Davey D, Mo, and Byron. Byron and I talked about this before. We shared so many alignments and parallels between our relationships with our dads. Really remarkable to hear him recount that story with his father. So, you know, David, you talked about the impact of the virus, of the pandemic on all of us, and I was directly impacted. I in New York on a business trip the second week of March, right when the virus was hitting New York City. I was assuming that it was over in China. So I was on subway, I was in and out of Ubers, and I left the Bay on a Tuesday, and maybe by the next Tuesday, I was on my back sick with COVID. And for 12 days, I was in my home by myself, doing my steadfast work to try to recover. So one goal was to get healthy. And I prayed every day, which was a second goal, to be more spiritually rooted. And I've talked to April about this. To really, as a Black man, root myself in a spiritual awareness and spiritual awakening and connecting to a supreme being, a creator that gives me life. And so my first goal, get well. And you know, I'm blessed because I had been living in the Bay before I got sick, and really on my own health conscious. I was running 3 miles a day. I was feeling good. And I think it really helped save my life, because had I been in the condition, the physical condition I was in before I started to have a regular exercise regimen, I'm not so sure I would have been here. And so fortunately, I got well, and I continued to pray the prayer that I was praying, which was, if I get well, I am going to be sure that my life is really an instrument for what the Creator put me here to purposely do, Dr. Green. Going back to your comment, to fulfill the purpose that I was sent here to do, or that I chose to come here to do, April. And so it was really in small ways that I tried to do that, and also significant ways for me. One of the small ways was just making sure that my mother-in-law had groceries. She was deathly afraid. She's 75 plus years old. I don't want to shout her out too much, but she's an elder, and she was very afraid. You know, an elder with some health conditions, very afraid of going out to the grocery store. Also didn't want anyone bringing her groceries either. So she didn't want folks bringing her to the grocery. You know, so she didn't trust either everybody. I was like, we gotta eat. Like, April was the story. She started to can food, and I was like, hey, that's all good, but let me get you some groceries. So, little things like making sure my mother-in-law had groceries in her house. She has cats, so I'm no cat fan, but making sure she had what she needed to take care of her cats. She has no business trying to lift 25 or 50-pound bags of litter. So making sure that kind of stuff was in place. It was a small thing to do, a necessary thing to do. I was happy to be able to do it, happy to have the health and well-being and the means to do it. As the year progressed, it also became really apparent to me, Davey, that the political environment that we were in was also harming us. So we talked about the double or triple, or maybe even quadruple pandemic that we were in, the economic pandemic, the health pandemic, the racial pandemic, but there was also this political desert that we were walking through with a leader in the White House who had been elected and who wasn't leading. And so putting people's lives in jeopardy. And it was everything that I could do with the means that I had to try to get that person out of office and to write as many checks as I could afford to write to put different people in Congress. And it was really the first time in my life I had given in that way. I had never really given politically. I voted and that was meaningful, but I had the means to write checks to support candidates that I believed in. And I did so. And I did outreach and I did texts and calls from candidates that I believed in. And I believe it paid off because we have we have a brother and a senator from a white guy from the state of Georgia who have absolutely flipped the Senate, and it has made a difference. I'm proud that my home state has gone blue. I'm proud that Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are sitting in Senate, and I'm proud that I played a small part in helping to make that reality true. Making sure that people got out to vote, making sure people's rights to exercise the right to vote were represented and respected. That's certainly being undone now, but I think it was really important for me to grow in that way, to set that goal for myself of giving back in that way and have my own civic participation have real meaning this time. So those are some of the goals that I, kind of underwent through the last year and feel good about the progress I've made on them. They have lifted me in a way that helps me feel confident that I can make a contribution still that's meaningful, that as I age and can share wisdom with young people, finding forums to do that. And then in my professional life, really trying to put and transform these institutions that claim to work on behalf of our communities, give grants to try to change the realities in our communities, but often miss the mark because they don't understand our communities.
Real talk. April, I appreciate what you're saying, LOREN. That was big. I think every step that we all took for those elections made a difference. Those textathons, all that stuff. I know I DJ'd a bunch of them, and those made big differences. I want to bring it back to your book, April, because the thing is when the book was happening, I wasn't really a father. I talked about how, your father, it was, hip hop was my dad in a way. That's what I wrote in that first thing.
Mhm.
But, during this pandemic, thank God for the kids that I have, seeing them grow. Thank God for my wife. I mean, that was a blessing. And I don't want them going back to school. I don't want my daughter going back to school. I mean, I like them here, I think it made, at least for us, made us realize like, these times with our folks is precious, enjoy every minute, if you're able to, those who are fortunate enough to see them grow, see them come into their own, help guide them through the most arduous time. And they get to see, from our laps, just how treacherous this world can be and just how loving it can be simultaneously, so that they have clear understanding of where the village is that can uplift them and where the traps are that will beset them. And so I think for me, that was probably the biggest anchoring. Some
Wow.
people were like, I want to get out the house. I was like, happy to be in the house, with the family. It's like, nah, I have no complaints. And that's a blessing. That's seeds. That's God. That's their spirituality. And that's something not to take for granted, because a lot of people didn't have it like that. A lot of
Right.
people are like, I do not want to be here with that person. And I don't want to be here with these kids. And, we got to repair that. But for those of us who didn't have that situation, well, this will be something to look back on because we won't have this amount of time without having these outside obligations tearing us in different directions
Yeah.
and contaminating us in the process.
Mm-hmm. That's a really, really strong point. It's a really, man, I could just go on. This is so nourishing. It really is. But I want to see, and the intersections are just amazing. So David D, I want to take what you said, talking about be a father to your child, which is still available online. That will be available on Nkiru books online, quailysclub.com. It'll be available there as well. And just, Ren, we've said this to you before, but I'm gonna shift just to say thank you. If Davy D is saying, April, thank you for your book, then I have to say thank you, Loren Havers, for identifying me as the editor of that anthology, Be a Father to Your Child, and for your vision and your support. And, you know, writing checks to make that happen. You know, speaking about writing checks, this is a circle of check writers right here where the support is, you know, is sustainable. So, but let me see if I can segue, because we could really, really go on. I want to ask you all.
There's no one better though to you know, that was part of your purpose, and there was no
Yeah.
one that could have fulfilled the mission of bringing that book to life. So, you know, it was truly a collaboration, and you did the heavy lift. So thank you.
I have to say, your vision helped me to know how much I love storytelling and editing. There's no greater joy. There are very few greater joys than I had than to usher 24 men, Black men, tell their stories about fatherhood or being a son. It is absolutely one of the top highlights of my life. And I knew that I would stay in an editorial position, a storyteller position. So you helped illuminate for me what I know my mission is. So I just had to say that on the record. So if I may, I'm gonna cut in the mixtape that DJ Trends did. So we're gonna transition, and DJ Trends, I'm gonna start with you with this question, and we're going to go all the way around. But Aaliyah, you're going to be the one to close us out, if that's okay, right? Because you get to answer this question too. And because it's Black Music Month, I want to start with DJ Trends, and I'll call everybody. What is that one song or songs that you know that's your go-to, that lifts you up and gets you inspired and puts the battery in your pack? Let's start with you, DJ Trends.
Ooh, that's like the most impossible question in the world for me. There's so many. If I have to think, the first song that comes to my mind is a song by a reggae singer, Dennis Brown, and it's called Here I Come.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I mean, not even the words. I think my favorite thing about music is sometimes you don't even know the words, but the tone of the voice, the sound of the bass, the way, you know, the syncopation, any of those things can just give you the feeling. So that is the one song that I can remember that has always been like a calming. It's just a song for me. It's just a song that takes me. It has everything in the world that I need to think about is in between the lyrics of that song.
Wow, and you never get tired of it.
I will never get tired of that song. It's one of those songs where, you know, because on my radio show, it's one of those songs.
Wait, can you tell us about your radio show? Because you've been there for like more than 10 years. Can you just pause and tell us your radio show?
Yeah, I DJ on a show called Caribbean Fever on WBLS with David Levy every Sunday, every Saturday night. So that's one of those songs that I start the show with sometimes. I try to stop doing it. I try not to do it much, but it's one of those songs like the right day. It's like, all right, today's the day. We're starting with Dennis Brown. So that's that song for me.
I love it. I love it. Aaliyah, we're going to have you have the last word. So I'm going to go around and I want to go to Dr. Green. What's your go-to one or two songs that lifts you up by a Black artist for Black Music Month?
Harold Sanders, Save Our Children, and The Creator Has a Master Plan.
You knew that. You didn't even have to think about that. You just
I love that. I mean, I try to incorporate it when I'm writing, but that's part of the philosophy. Create as a master plan and save our children.
Gotcha.
From
Thank.
Sanders. I had an opportunity to meet him. So
Oh,
very,
wow.
very.
I love it. I love it. Byron?
Yeah, so I don't know if I have a song, but I do have an album, and it's kind of obscure, and it's a shame that it's obscure. But it's by Stickman of Dead Prez, and he has an album totally dedicated to working out, to exercise, but not just exercise, but like, you know, just the connection to your mind, body, and spirit. And I use that I listen to that CD a lot when it's time for me to work out. But it's not just about working out. You know, it's about your overall well-being and staying motivated. And so, you know, I'm gonna give that to Stickman because you know, he's motivated me and pushed me through not just exercise, like my exercise routine, but also just like pushing through life.
What's the
What
name
we
of that?
was
It's called The Workout. So his first album is called The Workout, and he has a follow-up to that album called The Workout 2.
Okay, cool.
And
Is it-
it's all about diet, nutrition, health, wellness, meditating, you know, drinking water. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful album. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's you know, beautifully conceived, and it's conceived with our health and wellness in mind.
Is it fair to say that it's about triumphant living, Byron?
Absolutely, it's without a doubt, without a doubt.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Mo, why don't you give us your take as well?
It's funny, y'all know the running joke in the book is that I'm the only non-hip hop head in the anthology. I know more Temptation lyrics than I do hip hop lyrics. I'm a soul man through and through, funk kid. My workout song to this day is still Curtis Mayfield's "Move On Up." Like I'll run the track to move on up every day. You know, I literally, if I'm not feeling down, I'm gonna drop Curtis. And the greatest album, Rolling Stone magazine finally caught up to us and voted Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" the greatest album of all time this year. And it's been the greatest album of my childhood and my adulthood. It just speaks to our journey, that record, not just for the times of the 60s and the 70s, but the musical landscape is our landscape, from blues all the way up. The only thing it didn't touch was hip hop because it just was too soon. You know?
And you know, Timothy Jones, who is also in the book, reminds us that on May 21st, that album turned 50. May 21st, 2001, the Marvin Gaye album, What's Going On, turned 50. So shout out to Timothy Jones and his new book on the album as well. So we have a contributor to Be a Father to Our Child that put out 2 books in 3 months this year, talk about triumphant living. So I wanted to shout him out. Ren, who's your go-to person?
Yeah, I mean, right now, for most of the last year, it's been Umi Says by the Mighty Most Def.
Now Yassine Bey, yes?
Now Yassine Bey, absolutely.
Yeah.
That song for me is an anthem. It's anthemic for our people. I know it's had some commercial use where they take out the references to Black people, but I know when the brother sings that song, when he created that artistry, who he was talking to, and it speaks to my soul. And so I use it, for inspiration, for workout inspiration, for day-to-day inspiration. I just love the lyrical meaning of that song and the uplift of it. So Umi Says.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna go because I think I would be the last person before Leah, right? Is that did we get everybody? I think so.
You can't ask a DJ.
Oh, I didn't ask you. Did I ask you, Davey D?
No,
Right.
But it's hard. I'm
Okay.
like with Dave, I have so many records that I'm dealing with every week. It changes, but I think some of the soundtracks were more artists. Sarak, I love her, is inspiring. If there's a couple of songs, HER, her, I love her stuff. I Can't Breathe stays in my head. And also the one that she did with Robert Glasper, Better Than I Imagined with her and Michelle Indegecello. So those are the ones that kind of roll. My wife, every time I walk in the kitchen, she got a different type of soundtrack going. So through the pandemic, it started off with Gregory Porter, and now she's on to Leon Bridges out of
Yeah.
Texas. That's where she's from. So I take her playlist and I
Oh,
do what I do. It's family, right? I'm allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I listen to her stuff, and and then that becomes part of my soundtrack as well. So yeah, all those things and then some. Can I say one other thing that was a goal?
Yes, please, please.
My goal as a Golden State Warrior fan was to see the Knicks not go to the finals, just so that we can all sit on the couch together as family. And if the Lakers lose tonight, then my goal will be complete. We will all be sitting on the couch together. I don't want to be a hater, but I just was,
So I was trying not to say anything about the Golden State Warriors, you know what I'm saying? But now you bringing up I would say this. I still say this: the Brooklyn Nets are still out there, so New York
I know,
is still represented.
right?
Yeah, but that's a whole other juggernaut. But
No,
but for the rest
but-
of us as family, I just wanted us all to be on the couch
On the
together. Because I was by myself for a week or so, and I was like, it's just me. But now it's all of us, and I feel whole.
David is always bringing it, always. We're gonna have Aaliyah close us out, but I'm gonna weigh in myself. It's hard to do the narrowing it down to one person, but there are a lot of go-to people and albums and songs, but the one that is at the top of the list is the Blue Oneness of Dreams by Sekou Sundiata. Talk about that, DJ Trends, it was you that talked about the tone and the voice and just like I swim in between those lyrics. It is the thing that makes me, that reminds me that everything is going to be okay. Like every song and the poetry, the spoken word with music. If you're not, and God bless him, rest in peace. If you're not familiar with Sekou Sundiata, just an amazing artist. So that's my contribution. So Aaliyah.
Hold on, April. I'm sorry. I want to give one bonus track.
Okay.
You gotta do this. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna shout out Talib Kweli, Get By. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta say that. And number two, I want to say that Reflection Eternal was my inspiration for my goal to create a work of art that was as seminal as Reflection Eternal. So I just wanted to say that before we got off this line.
That's a really powerful point. We got to do a whole nother session just on
the music
that lifts us up. Yeah, because that's my and to hear Nina Simone in there and to Get By, I promise you I soar every time I hear it. Shout out to Talim because he has a book out, Vibrate Higher. His memoir just came out because we're supporting each other. So we want to say that. Shout out, Vibrate Higher just came out in March, Dr. Green, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah, so go cop that for sure. So my dear, our beloved Aaliyah, we're following you on the closeout. So what do you listen to keep your, that keeps you happy?
So I have two.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so kind of in like categories. So the first one is Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. It's like the inspirational one, the hype myself up one, and then the second one is like the hyping up everything, like the running around, or like listening to outside, doing basketball, jumping on the trampoline, everything, is Savannah Grass by Kess. And and he's from Trinidad. His song was made in Trinidad, but it always reminds me of Barbados, actually, for when I'm like on the beach and like running there and just like everything just like let go, breeze and salty beach air, or specific description. Yeah.
I love it. So Aaliyah, wait a minute, let me get this right. So So you just gave us this descriptive, you know, entree. So you're a poet, and then you are a basketball player. I heard you say you're playing basketball, and then you're on the trampoline. So you're athletic, and then you're a host. Like, you have everything going on. You have everything going on.
I'm about to go upstairs and ask my daughter what she's doing with her life. My daughter is 11 too, so you know, I got questions.
Hey, I have 20-something daughters. I might be posing that question to after listening to you.
I'm gonna see if I'm gonna send her over to see if she can do the homework for some of my students. She seems to be,
or at least some inspirational speaking.
Get some speaking, you know.
No,
Telling them, when I was your age, I did my homework. You're 3 times my age and you haven't been stepping up. Son, get with it.
Hey, put that laundry down and go do something.
Aaliyah, look how much you're inspiring us, right? We are so happy and proud of you, Aaliyah, and your sister Ava. We're happy to always be working with your mom, DJ Trends. Just shout out to you for raising 2 amazing daughters and just being the family man that you are and the artist that you are. So I want to definitely shout you out and spending your evening with us. And just shout out to everybody. I'm soaring right now. I cannot wait to share this with the world. So just know that this will go up tonight. And let me just say this last plug, if I may. Every Thursday at 10 o'clock, including tonight, June 3rd, every Thursday at 10 o'clock, I have started an audio series. So the first and third Thursday of every month, this is new, but we're on Twitter at 10 p.m. every first and third Thursday of the month. And then every second and fourth Thursday, I'm on Clubhouse. So I'm going back and forth doing my arts and activism audio conversations. You're welcome to follow me, to the panelists and to everybody else who's listening. It's just because I love these conversations. It's not work for me. It's a very happy space to be with light bearers and people who understand the importance of perseverance and positive vibes and triumphant living. So I'm just honored. Thank you so much. I could go on gushing, but I'll close out just with the last words of just thank you and expressing my gratitude. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, April.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us this space.
Absolutely. And if I owe you an email or a document or I promise something, you can't get mad, because this is, I know I owe Dr. Green, I know I probably owe you some emails or some assignment that I'm late on, but don't get mad.
I just want to say, I'm just so inspired by having males, all these males tell their stories and be so open. That is so hard to do. People are just so reluctant. So thank you for that inspiration. You know, we don't see it often. I applaud you.
Yes, we love you. We love you dearly.
Byron, is it okay if I eat some cookies, man? Because, you know, it makes me feel bad when I hit him up, man. He'd be like, what are you doing, man? I'm jogging around the mountains. What are you doing? I'm sitting here with in my chair watching TV with some cookies. I'm like, oh, let me put these down. And
then Aaliyah is like jumping on a trampoline or playing basketball or at the beach,
we can excuse her because she's 11.
Okay.
But but I got to look at Byron. It's like, bro, we the same age roughly. So what are you doing?
Hilarious. Okay.
But I'm waiting for that film, brother.
Yeah. All right, family. So we're going to close out. Love you much.
Peace.
And talk to you soon.
Peace, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.